Pegan Min, to me, has always been one of my favourite villains in the gaming industry, but also one that I find very hard to hate or build any bloodlust for. But why is this? Why is it that I almost feel sad killing this man who runs a corrupt and brutal dictatorship? A man who seems to kill and torture without a second thought, and a man who seems like he only cares for himself and not for the people in his country. So why and how do I think Pagan is so hard to hate as a villain, and why and how do I like Pagan, just like many others, so deeply? Well, today I mean to answer that question, but to do this, first we'll need to take a look at how we meet Pegan Min. If you like this kind of content, please consider liking, subscribing and hitting the bell notification so you can be caught up on all videos. Oh, and by the way, Happy New Year's. The channel this year is going to do incredibly well. I have some incredible things planned and I can't wait to see you all join me on this journey. Thank you for watching. Far Cry 4 starts off very simply. This time we're not getting captured by pirates, but by a ruthless dictator instead. But no, seriously. On a serious note, all we know is that we play as a boy called RJ Gale, aka AJ, who has been given a simple task to scatter his mother's ashes as his last wish in this foreign country of Karat. But this simple trip all changes when the bus is stopped by army soldiers who begin to open fire on RJ and everyone in the bus. They do this after seeing soldiers in yellow uniform exit the back of the bus. When you eventually exit the bus, you are greeted by a helicopter that is landing, and out comes Pegan Min himself, the leader of the Royal Army. The army that was shooting at you about 30 seconds ago. In a very tense scene, Pegan Min walks up to a Royal Army captain very calmly and says he distinctly remembers telling him and his squad of troops to stop the bus and not shoot it.
Remember saying, stop the bus. Yes, stop the bus. Not shoot the bus. I'm very particular with my words. Stop. Shoot. Stop. Shoot. Do those words sound the same?
And then Pagan swiftly kills the guard for not doing his job right. However, this is actually wrong. The guard did do his job right, you just probably didn't notice it. You see, when the bus is pulled over, everything is calm and collected. The Royal Army guards are probably here to just get AJ and leave. However, one of the guards spots something under the bus, likely a tracker used by the Golden Path to also try and get AJ. Pagan and his Royal Army believe that the Golden Paths are terrorists, so they understandably get a bit annoyed at this. But then, still, it's not until even further two Golden Path soldiers who are completely armed to the teeth with machine guns jump out of the back of the bus and start to open fire on the Royal Army soldiers. And even then, the civilian bus driver whips out a pistol trying to kill the Royal Army soldiers. So this leads the soldiers to spot AJ, probably being confused and dazzled in the fact that a civilian has just opened fire on them. They now deem all threats to be hostile and all civilians to be hostile, so they try to neutralize everyone. This soldier did nothing wrong but get shot. Now Pagan wants you, RJ Gale, alive for his own reasons, so he's not just in murdering a guard. However, we can understand where he's coming from with his frustration and the fact that he himself doesn't know what just happened. I wanted to point this out because I find it really funny that the first people to cause direct conflict in Far Cry 4's story is not Pagan and his Royal Army dictator's regime, but it's actually the Golden Path, the people you will follow for the whole game and the people who will make it out to you that they are the good guys of the game. Something I think is really interesting to note down. Min being Min then makes a hilarious joke about his fresh new shoes.
And I got blood on my
You may not know this, but our full name is Nigel.
But then he takes a step back and actually apologizes to you, the player, AJ, and says this whole thing isn't how he wanted this to go. Hugging the player, hugging AJ, and inviting you to a party. So what does this all mean? Well, in the span of 3.5 minutes, we see Pagan, and we see him do a lot, and we learn a lot. The first thing we see is that Pagan is not hostile to AJ, but is to others. We see that Pagan shares some remorse with the player, because the first thing he says to AJ personally is that he apologizes, showing that Pagan is remorseful in some way or another. And finally, that this guy is really funny.
Strong, silent type. I like it. I am terribly embarrassed about all of this. This was supposed to be very simple, but you know, if you give food to monkeys, they just throw their shit at each other. You know? Oh, would you hold this? For just a moment, I want to get a little picture right into the camera. There we are. Awesome.
All of this helps to create quite strange feelings for the player, as we are intimidated by Pagan, as we can clearly see he is a bit deranged and quite psychotic. However, he's not exactly hostile towards the player, so this allows the player to like and get on with Pagan and almost resonate with him and be able to like Pagan as a character a lot quicker and a lot more effectively. In fact, this is one of the only Far Cry intros for a villain that I don't say I overall hate Pagan straight away. He hasn't killed anyone I really care about, he hasn't said anything absolutely harsh. Pagan has been nothing but kind to me, but nothing but violent and annoying to other people, which makes his character far more deeper, but far more easier to get on with. And Pagan in the next scene acts very similar to how he acted in the previous scene, being very thoughtful, kind, caring and welcoming to AJ, but overall quite hostile and homicidal to everyone else around him, especially AJ's friend who's in the room with him. He finds out that this man who you've brought into his temple is actually part of the Golden Path and orders him to be taken away. Pegan Min leaves the room and so does everyone else in the room, leaving you untied and unattended on your own. Pagan gives you simple instructions to wait for him to get back. You see, what's really interesting to me is that Pagan truly does view you as a guest here. That's why he leaves you unattended to and on your own, untied. He truly just believes that because he's been good to you, in his weird head he thinks because he's been good to you, but you've seen him kill one person and send another one off to be brutally executed, he thinks nothing of it, because he thinks just because he's been good to you, you won't think anything of it. It's kind of weird to see how his strange world works. This whole opening section to Far Cry 4 is perfect because it truly shows you how Pagan Min's head works and how he perceives the world and the people around him. He truly does view as a guest, and on a replete playthrough, you will truly see that Pagan didn't really do anything wrong to AJ. Sure, he did kill one of his guards, and he is going to have this man tortured. However, to AJ personally, Pagan did nothing wrong, and in repeat playthroughs, we can almost feel sad for the guy, clearly showing that he has been hurt bad in some way or another, and that this man does have a very loving side.
Didn't completely fuck it up. Get up, boy. I recognize those eyes anywhere. I'm so sorry about this. This was supposed to be... well, not this.
Right here. Enjoy the crab rangoon. Don't move. I will be right back. Yuma, we need to talk.
Throughout the events of Far Cry 4, we see Pagan a handful of times, and how does he act through those times? After AJ rudely leaves Pagan's dinner without even saying goodbye, he ends up joining the Golden Path and starts working with them. But let's just remember, AJ could give literally two shits about either factions at this moment in time. For the Golden Path, they are just a tactic for AJ to get to spread his mother's ashes, the same with Pagan. All AJ wants to do is spread his mother's ashes, and that's what's important for now. Pegan Min does call AJ a lot throughout the events of Far Cry 4, however, it's extremely important to note that unlike villains such as Vars and the Father, Pagan never actually insults or intimidates or goes after you or is hostile to you, AJ, because Pagan likes AJ and Pagan does love AJ, which I'll come on to a bit later on in this video. Pagan more talks about the people you're working with, and talks about how they are the wrong side, how the Golden Path are just misleading you, and how people you are working with are just wrong. And once again, all the times that Pagan is saying all these things, it always feels like he's not saying it out of any malicious intent or out of any real scrutiny, but more out of a place of hurt and a place that he wants AJ to really come back to him, almost like a father figure.
I'd love to give you a tour of my vaults one day. Right now, I'm looking at all the wealth of Kirot. Gold medallions, ivory statues, jade carvings, such delightful trinkets. The Golden Path says I stole its wealth, but I did no such thing. They robbed themselves for centuries instead of putting it to good use. I, on the other hand, have been selling off whatever I can to the West, and whatever I can't, I melt it down and make something a little more contemporary.
In fact, even after AJ kills DePaul, one of Pagan's helpers and one of Pagan's top torturers, Pagan doesn't really do anything bad to AJ. Sure, he imprisons him, but when he could outright kill the man who just killed most of his men and DePaul, someone who was a key to Pagan's army in operation, Pagan more sees it as tough love, just imprisoning him for a little bit, and distinctly says to one of Pagan's helpers not to kill AJ. He still wants him alive because Pagan still loves AJ.
Punch holes so he doesn't suffocate. Hello! Did we enjoy our time with the CIA? Welcome to Dagesh. I apologize for the Spartan accommodations, but you have been a naughty little shit, haven't you? Fuck the poor boy. Perhaps a little sugar on your shit sandwich?
Whatever, you've seen him. He's still breathing. Now go away, I've got work to do.
Fine. But I want him alive, with all the bits that count intact. One last thing. Now, RJ, I know this is hard, but consider this tough love, prison love. After all, you have a suite with a spectacular view. Oh, and one final piece of advice. I wouldn't sleep too close to the edge.
See, you really only do see Pagan 3 or 4 times in person throughout Far Cry 4's story. However, you hear him over the radio and hear him on the phone talking to you directly a lot of the time, and he always has something either positive to say about AJ, or when he is angry, he's just angry with AJ. He's never hostile or violent towards him, which is extremely important to note. Also, he's fucking funny as fuck on the radio.
From a Dennis Rodman type. Perhaps I could get Beckham to bring the Galaxy over for a game against my best 11. A bit cliche now, I suppose. Pop star. If the dictator of Turkmenistan can get J-Lo to sing him happy birthday, then who's to say I can't get my fading star of yesteryear? Let's see how much Kanye is going for. Do you follow him on Twitter? He's gold. Oh, I would love to shoot the breeze with that young man.
All of this helps to make the player feel a lot more trusted with Pagan and really feel like he actually cares for the player a lot more than some of the main protagonists do. It feels odd to have an antagonist care about us more than some of our main good guy character roles in some of our story. And I won't lie, he is still funny as fuck. However, Pegan Min is still extremely violent and hostile to anyone who helps the Golden Path themselves, or anyone who gets in his way. But why is he so violent towards the Golden Path? Well, in his defense, I think there really is a reason. So let's see what that reason may be. Throughout the events of Far Cry 4, you are pinned in between 2 factions. You are led by the Golden Path, who believe that Pegan Min's royal army are tyrants and should not be in power, and they need to be stopped. And then there's Pegan Min, who believes that the Golden Path are a terrorist group who needs to be put down. So who is right? Well, first off, the Golden Path is led by 2 leaders, one named Sabal, who believes that the Golden Path should reform Karat back to its religious roots that will rule over the country. And then of course there is Amita, who believes that Karat should be kept as a drug country so that when they retake it from the royal army, they can actually make a profit and become an actual country that has schools, hospitals, and other financial wins that you wouldn't get from Sabal's religion-based plan. This is because Sabal doesn't believe in reforming or moving forward the country. He believes in going backwards and reverting to the roots of religion, which wouldn't make the country any richer. Now, only one out of the 2 of these leaders can truly rule Karat, And this is because they fundamentally disagree at their core as human beings when it comes to their own opinion and mindsets. Sabal believes in complete abolishment of all drugs in Kyrat so they can focus on religion, whereas Amita believes that the preservation of drugs is what will keep Kyrat alive when it comes to financial income. Now, the only person who can make one of these two leaders become the true leader of Kyrat is AJ. But what about the Golden Path? Is the Golden Path a terrorist group? Well, like I said earlier, we do see the Golden Path open fire first, and we do see them use civilians throughout the game to cover up their work, or to use civilians in the game as soldiers. We also see the Golden Path take Royal Army soldiers captive to torture them for information, all of which are things terrorists do. However, is it really fair to call the Golden Path terrorists? Yes it is. However, is it really fair to call them terrorists without looking into the Royal Army? Is Pagan a dictator, and is his Royal Army a dictatorship? Well, let's see. Well, to start things off, as far as my knowledge goes, there are no general elections in Kyrat, so this would straight away make it a dictatorship. To back this up as well, Pagan kills whoever he feels like killing, with hardly any remorse, uses money for nothing but himself, and sets up labour and sex camps throughout Kyrat. So, yeah, I would say he's a dictator, and his army is a dictatorship. So what is the right thing to do? Surely it's side with the Golden Path. Well, by the end of the game, Amita wants to kill Sabal, and Sabal wants to kill Amita. If you end up picking Sabal to rule the country, he ends up reverting the whole country back to its religious roots, which means the country stays in absolute poverty, and then he proceeds to kill half of the country as a clean wiping slate for all the sins of the Kyratis over the years. Yeah.
Now you kneel before the Tarun Matara, asking forgiveness. No. No. Where was that forgiveness when you butchered your brothers and sisters? You committed crimes against the gods themselves. So I say to you, today, you chose to cut your own throats, not me. Wait.
Well, if that's what happens with Sabal, surely Amita's ending is better. If you choose Amita, she starts a child drug empire, enlisting children into her army and capturing anyone who doesn't and imprisoning them.
Child, we'll bring them back here, to me. Go.
What's going on?
We need more soldiers to fight the holdouts from the Royal Army. And I need to start thinking about Kyrat's future. We have opium fields to protect, laws to enforce, workers to keep in line.
So you're forcing the people to join Golden Path?
I'm sacrificing our liberties for peace later. You can either get in line or get out of the way.
What the fuck? She rules Kyrat with an iron fist, and while sure the economy for Kyrat is now booming, morally Kyrat couldn't be more grey. Well, if Sabal and Amita aren't the right choice, then surely that means the Golden Path aren't the right choice. So what is the right choice for Far Cry 4? Well, if the Golden Path aren't the right choice, then surely that means Pagan would be the right choice. But if he is the right choice, then surely that means you're going with a murderer, a ruthless killer, and an insane person, just like all the other Far Cry villains. Or are you? Pegan Min is nothing like other villains, and he's nothing like other Far Cry villains either. The villain before Pegan Min was Vaas, you know, the extremely well-loved, extremely famous Vaas, the one that people say is the best villain of all time, and he was loved because of his explosive energy, his craziness, and his unpredictable nature that you just couldn't predict. Basically, in a nutshell, Vaas was loved for how sporadic he was and how insane he was. Pagan, on the other hand, is almost completely the opposite. When talking to the player, he is very, very calm, he is very predictable, and very, very welcoming and kind. However, he can be sporadic, and he can be violent and dangerous. And I can hear you saying it, but truth, what about a villain like the Father from Far Cry 5? He can be very calm with the main character, but very sporadic and violent with others, just like Pagan. But when you look into this a bit more deeper, it becomes very clear what their differences are. In the end of Far Cry 5, we see that the Father was right in his predictions of the ending of Far Cry 5. However, he is overall still a very violent, and antagonizing main villain, especially to the main character, and his acts of violence are far, far worse than Pagan's, killing hundreds of people. Once again, this is very different to Pagan, who is always consistent and kind towards AJ and more sporadic towards others. Does Pagan do some violent things throughout the story of Far Cry 4? Definitely yes. However, by the end of Far Cry 4, Pagan is still just there to try and help AJ as best as he can, unlike other villains. In my opinion, it's clear that the only little bit of humanity left in Pegan Min's heart is for AJ. He truly does love AJ and care for his well-being, and that is his true last bit of himself left in AJ. All the rest of his love and humanity for the world died a long time ago. But I can also hear you saying, but how does this prove that Pegan Min is different to the other Far Cry villains? Well, look at it simply like this. Where other villains such as the Father and Vars have completely lost all of their humanity and love, Pagan still has that little bit he's clinging on to and hoping he can live on through AJ, and love through AJ, and have humanity through AJ. And that's what separates other Far Cry villains from Pagan, because Pagan hasn't lost all of his humanity. There's still that little glimpse left. Now there is one slight issue with this video I've made. Just one. Well, there might be more. Please don't look for any more. Just please take this just one. But that one issue is I haven't told you the complete story of Pegan Min. The backstory of Pegan Min. So let's do that. Long before the civil war in Karat, there was a woman called Ishwari, married to Mohan Gali, the leader of the Golden Path and the ruler of Karat. Together they were strong, but one day Ishwari fell in love with another man called Pegan Min. The two had a daughter together called Lakshmana, and this would be the player AJ's half-sister. But when Mohan, AJ's dad, learned about this news, he was enraged and murdered Lakshmana, Pegan Min's daughter. This led Ishwari to kill Mohan and then flee the country, which overall broke Pagan and turned him into a shell of a man. This and killing his daughter completely and utterly broke the man, as well as losing AJ, who he clearly cared about very deeply. This left Pegan Min completely isolated, alone, depressed and saddened. He had taken Karat, but with no one with him to love, to care about, to laugh and to joy with, he would reject the people as he had no reason to care, and all of this would lead him down a dark and very depressing path. And this is all revealed to you at the end of the game by Pegan Min himself. But what's more sad and messed up is that if you had just waited for Pagan at the start of the game when he leaves you on your own, completely untied, because like I say, he truly does view you as a guest, you would have been able to unlock the secret ending, where at the very start of the game, Pagan tells you everything and you then go with him together to take down the Golden Path. And then once you take down the Golden Path, Pagan probably would have given you Karat personally, but obviously that didn't happen. Throughout Far Cry 4, Pagan is a very bad general. In fact, he's not a good general at all, but this is because he never needed to be. He knew that Sabal and Amita would turn on each other, and that when they did, the Golden Path would erupt into civil war, killing each other. However, what he didn't know is that AJ would join the fight and pick the Golden Path side. He probably hoped that you would come to what he thought is your senses and join him again, and because he loves you so dearly, he didn't have the balls to send men after you, or to go after you himself.
So, who did you kill? Is it Amitabh? Sabal? Doesn't really matter. I already know. I just want to hear you say it.
Friends are having a bit of a spat. It must be hard. What with you in the middle of it all? Choices are difficult. Trust me, I've been there.
You see, the truth is, all Pagan wanted was the best for AJ from the start, and that is why Pagan is so likable and so hard to hate. In conclusion, the reason why Pegan Min is such a hard villain to hate is because of Pagan's past trauma and how at his core he is a broken man, a man turned into a villain through truly unfortunate and horrific events. I believe he truly did love AJ with every bit of his remaining light in his heart. He truly loved you, the player, AJ. The Golden Path leaders are hard to like in the end because they're immoral and liars, whereas Pagan Min in the end is honest and truthful, just like how he was at the start of the game. Paired with an incredible performance from Troy Baker, and the fact that Pagan is truly a hilarious character. All of this conjoined together to make a man who was not born evil, but turned evil, and that truly conveys to the player why Pagan Min is such a hard character to hate, and why he is such an easy villain to love. Thank you guys ever so much for watching this video, I really do appreciate it. 95% of you watching this aren't subscribed, so if you could hit that subscribe button, I would truly appreciate it. Also, like, comment and share this video wherever you can, guys, would also be mightily appreciated. Like I say, I've got some big things happening this year. Hopefully we're going to blow up. I know we can do it, guys, with the help of you. But yeah, stay tuned, lots more character analyzations coming out just like this, and I've got more reviews coming out. So I love you guys, stay good, stay safe, and I will see you all in the next video. Stay safe, guys, and peace.